Hi, hello, how are you? I think you are doing well. It's me, V.Shyamsunder Naik, pursuing second year MA English in Maulana Azad National Urdu University at Hyderabad. Now I am going to talk about Preface to Shakespeare written by Samuel Johnson. Samuel Johnson was born on 18 September 1709 in Lichfield in UK, and he was passed away on 13 December 1784 in London in UK. Samuel Johnson, often referred as Dr. Johnson, he was an English writer who made long-lasting contributions to English literature as a poet, playwright, essayist, moralist, literary critic, biographer, editor, and lexicographer. The Preface to Shakespeare had published in 1765 after 9 years. Johnson says that a person will get respect after his death. It means in the situation of Shakespeare, when he was alive, he don't get any type of respect and the praises. After his death, now everyone are praising him and giving respect to him throughout the world. Samuel Johnson was the pioneer of practical criticism. Practical criticism means talking about the merits and demerits of a individual's work. As a neoclassicist, Samuel Johnson tries to create balances between the excellencies and defaults of Shakespeare. He tries to make the distinction between contemporaries and future generations. His works on Shakespeare were devoted not merely to Shakespeare but to understanding literature as a whole. In his preface to Shakespeare, Johnson rejects the previous principles of the classical unities and argues that drama should be faithful to life. Johnson points out that Shakespeare is a poet of nature in his first part of Preface. His characters are not generalized the people, but each character is distinctively generalized, although they present universal passions. Samuel Johnson says that Shakespeare is excellent because of his true imitation, his characters, his plots and stories, usage of language, and usage of genre in his writings. Nevertheless, Johnson did not only defend on Shakespeare, he discussed Shakespeare's faults like his lack of morality, his vulgarity, his carelessness in crafting plots, and his occasional inattentiveness when choosing word or word order. He says that being true to life is not enough because there is no poetic justice. Samuel Johnson argues that Shakespeare has followed only unity of action, but he hadn't followed unity of time and the unity of place in his dramas. Johnson also finds faults with Shakespeare's plots and thinks that they are loosely formed, not pursued with diligence. He finds that the missing of praising the good and punishing the evils in his writings. Samuel Johnson argues that evils won't be die in Shakespeare's writings. For example, Shakespeare's tragedy Othello. In this tragedy, the Othello and the evil character Iago both will die at the end of the tragedy. But the evilness of Iago remains. Here, Samuel Johnson wants to say that it's not the important that dying of character, but dying of evilness is the important. Shakespeare does not put his efforts where he should mostly require. Johnson says that Shakespeare hadn't get success in his comic scenes. Tragic comedy was started by William Shakespeare. Tragic comedy means mix of tragedy and comedy. In comedy, we can see that happy ending will be there. In tragedy, we say that sad ending will be there. But in tragic comedy, sometimes comedy will be there and sometimes sad also will be there. Johnson points out that Shakespeare's set of speeches are commonly weak. Shakespeare wrote his set of speeches weak because he wants that every common man should want to read and understand his writings. If he writes with difficult words, only the literary persons, it means literature persons, can understand that one. But Shakespeare wants that everyone should understand his writings. For that purpose, Shakespeare wrote his set of speeches are very commonly weak. Repeatedly, Johnson finds Shakespeare's tragic scenes whereby a sudden drop in emotional temperature caused by some infelicity of language, a pun, a coincide, and hyperbole. Johnson also finds Shakespeare's guilt of violated chronology and appearance of true relating to time and place. Johnson appreciates Shakespeare's comedy, yet he is not blind to his faults. He says that there is a lot of coarseness in his dialogues. Johnson finds many of times unnecessary repetition of some dialogues and does not match to the occasion or situation in his writings. It means some dialogues are repeatedly coming in his writings and some dialogues are not matching with the situation which is there in his writings. Thank you.